Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for sending my daughter to her room because she farted at her family dinner? My daughter is 14 years old. I'll call her Rosie to maintain privacy. She's the middle child of 4 kids, with my oldest sons being 16, 18, and youngest son is 10. She's my only daughter. She has high-functioning autism and is starting to model some of the boys' behavior and to the next level. She has some sort of a fart fetish. She laughs at farts, looks up every fact on farting, including foods that trigger gas, etc., watches fart pranks on her iPad out loud, all without any regard to the context of the situation. I wish I was joking. I have taught her and our sons table manners. I've been teaching them and reinforcing them since they were little. They were told to say, "excuse me," when they belch, cover their mouth when they cough and sneeze, close their mouth when they eat, very basic table manners. Some of these things I tell her each time, it's like I told her the first time. Their grandparents, aunt and uncle, and their younger cousins were invited over to our Thanksgiving dinner. I set expectations with the entire family to be on their best behavior and leave topics regarding bodily functions out of the dinner table. Dinner underway, she gulped down a cup of lemonade and then proceeded to belch a few times, which the family turned to gaze at her. I reminded her to say, "excuse me," and hold in her burps. In the middle of a discussion with the rest of the family, she passed gas and giggled. The entire family looked at her direction with stern gazes and some jaw drops. It was after the 3rd time I threw my hands and shook my head at her, telling her to go to her room and that her actions were disgusting, rude, and not ladylike, and she needs to excuse herself to do that. Her father smirked a little and some of the little ones giggled, which I told them, enough. It's not funny. My daughter apologized and stated that she will be careful, which I then responded that she had the multiple times you belched, smacked during the entire dinner, and farted, she had more than enough time to correct herself. This is unacceptable to be doing this behavior when people are having a meal, and I raised her better than this, and we will have this conversation later, and for now, go to her room. She went to her room in tears. After a conversation with my daughter with the behaviors, she apologized again and said that she was trying to make everyone laugh and didn't expect people to get mad. I did remind her that it was actually rude, and she's expected to not do that again with company over. After a conversation with my husband, who passes gas very casually, thankfully doesn't do it with company over, he said that I was being too harsh on her and it was just a fart, which I did call him out on him smirking at dinner and stated that she modeled her behavior from him. A part of me agreed with him and thought I was too harsh on her and made a big deal over nothing. Was I being too hard on her, Reddit? Am I the a-hole? Comment said, not the a-hole. After a conversation with my daughter with the behaviors, she apologized again and said that she was trying to make everyone laugh and didn't expect people to get mad. This right here is why I came to this decision. You need to make sure she understands that there is a time and place for everything, and very often what she finds hilarious may be very offensive for someone else. With your husband giving you crap for it, I'd say turn it back on him. Ask him how he'd feel if he was at his parents' funerals and someone rudely farted in an effort to be funny. I know that's a harsh way to put it, but it seems part of the issue is your husband doesn't seem to grasp how offensive that behavior can be. Another comment said, not the a-hole. Some people think farts are funny, some don't. In my opinion, it is never funny to fart, or hear, or smell a fart when at a dining table. So, I don't think you are the a-hole for telling her to stop and sending her away from the table, because, as you pointed out, she had numerous chances to contain her belches, but she didn't, and she chose to up the ante and fart to get attention. Pure and simple. And by calling her out like you did, it has her attention. Negative attention, but attention nonetheless. I think you could have corrected her differently in a way that she would remember, but without seeming so harsh. Neurodivergent or not, I'm sure she knew it was wrong and simply kept misbehaving until she was the focus of attention. You also need to get your husband on board to model appropriate behavior, since she seems to be following in his farting footsteps, and even if he conforms, he needs to not smirk or laugh at all, because that encourages her misbehavior. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé's family that he's unemployed after they kept implying that I was a gold digger? So, my fiancé, M, 33, comes from a well-off family. I, F, 29, come from a working-class family. My fiancé's family are nice, but they can't help throwing comments at me about how I might be a gold digger. For example, if he buys me something, they'll go, "Oh, Jason bought you that?" You know what this looks like, right? And or, "Wait, Jason paid for this? Only gold diggers make their partners pay for stuff all the time. Just saying. It's so demeaning, and my fiancé does nothing to stop it. Especially now that he's in a bad place in life after he lost his job. And since he's keeping it secret then, I'm the one paying for everything. This has been going on for 4 months. Last week, his parents invited us for dinner, and he insisted that we go, so we went. At the dinner table, his mom grabbed my hand, literally while I was eating, and looked at my bracelet and went, "Oh, this bracelet looks really nice. Did Jason pay for it?" I nodded and reminded her that he bought it for me as a birthday gift last year. She was like, wonder how much it costs. She then leaned back and said, I remember when my brother was dating this gold digger woman. She'd receive expensive stuff like this, pointing at the bracelet here for her birthdays. I was stunned. I cut her off and asked if she meant to say that I was a gold digger. She threw her hands up and went, if the shoe fits, while laughing awkwardly. Silence took over. I looked at my fiancé and he shook his head at me like, "What?" I snapped. I told her it was bold of her to imply I was a gold digger when I'm literally providing for her unemployed son, have been for 4 months now. They all looked shocked. She glanced at me in shock, and his dad asked if it was true, and my fiancé just froze but looked so angry. An argument ensued, and dinner was cut short, and we had to leave after they started berating him. He had a rage fit in the car, just yelling and lashing at me. In my defense, I said that he sat by and let his mom continually imply that I was a gold digger, but he said that they never outright called me a gold digger, so it was all in my head. He said I still had no right to take advantage of his unfortunate circumstance to get back at his mom and expose him to the family. His parents went on about how disappointed they were, and now, as a result, he got disinvited from Thanksgiving. He blew up at me because of it this morning and kept saying I screwed him over so badly when he was just an innocent bystander. Comments said, "Not the a-hole. I think you should uninvite your fiancé from your wedding. He doesn't have your back. He's willing to lie to his family for months to protect his reputation. He's going to be willing to lie to you, too. And this won't be the last time he blames you for the faults and actions of himself and others." Another comment said, "Not the a-hole." I have to ask, do you see a future with this guy? He has no loyalty to you and is content to sit by and let his family disrespect you. When they get angry with him, it's your fault. Imagine how much worse this dynamic will be if you have children with him. He will allow his family to treat you like crap and teach your kids that you are unworthy of respect and dignity. I'd toss him before he makes your life a misery. The next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my mother that she and her step-grandchildren are not part of my family and are not owed money?" My mother had me with a sperm donor. He was someone she knew who was willing to let her have a child to raise herself. When I was 12, Mom met her husband. Her husband had a 17-year-old daughter at the time. Her husband and his daughter were dicks, and Mom threw me in the deep end, and she thought I'd see this dude as my dad because I never had one before. Even at 12. I knew a guy who commented on how I didn't smile like a girl should, and who commented on my weird interests for a girl was never going to be worthy of being called my parent, let alone my dad. His daughter taunted me for having no dad, and for not being cute enough when my donor didn't fall in love with me and decide to be my dad. I asked her if she understood what a sperm donor was. She told me someone who makes freaks. When I was 16, her husband's daughters moved back in with her boyfriend and their kids. I was then forced to babysit after school, and sometimes on the weekends because they either couldn't be bothered or nobody wanted to pay. I did the bare minimum of babysitting, and I did not grow attached to those children in the townish years I babysat them. I wanted nothing to do with babysitting them, but figured I could at least game when home with them rather than being grounded. I moved out and cut my mom off because she chose a husband who was a dick to me and kept me around him and his daughter, who was also a dick to me. I have nothing to do with any of them. A few months ago, my sperm donor died, and I learned he left all his assets to me. It was a lot of money, and a house that I sold, which got me a lot of money. My mom learned about this via mutual friends, and she reached out and told me how much they have struggled financially since their house burned down 2 years ago. I had heard about that at the time, and how her step-grandkids are looking at a really bad Christmas, and how great it would be if I, as their aunt, her daughter, and part of the family, bought gifts for the kids. I told her she and her step-grandkids are not my family, and were not owed any money from me, and that I would like it if she did not make me change another number. She called me on a business number I have. She asked me, how could I be so cold? And even if I resent her, how could I say that about the niece and nephew I spent every day with for 2 years and who looked up to and adored me? Am I the a-hole? Comment said, not the a-hole. All of a sudden, out of the blue, your mom contacts you after she conveniently hears about how you came into a lot of money courtesy of your sperm donor. I'm guessing she hasn't tried to contact you prior to this. How her step-grandkids are looking at a really bad Christmas, and how great it would be if I, as their aunt, her daughter, and part of the family brought gifts for the kids. Jeebus, lay it on thicker, Mom. So she was willing to submit you to years of mistreatment from your stepsister and stepdad along with her, but as soon as you come into cash, you're part of the family. Convenient. She asked me how I could be so cold. I'd ask her how she could have stayed with a man and his daughter who treated you like such crap over the years. How could I say that about the niece and nephew I spent every day with for 2 years? Well, considering you were forced to babysit for them by your family, I think you've given them enough over the years. Maybe total up the cash they saved by having you watch them for your sister and her BF. Good on you to stand your ground, OP. Use the money on you, not on people who wanted nothing to do with you until you all of a sudden came into money. Another comment said, not the a-hole. Isn't it amazing how people who treat you the worst suddenly become such devoted family members when they want your money? I'm very glad your dad remembered you and left you a legacy, and I hope you made solid arrangements with it for your future. One hint. If you haven't yet, please get a will written immediately. If you don't, your mom may qualify as next of kin and be able to take it all if anything happens to you. Build your own future and family of choice and have a great life. The last story is titled Racist Against the Owner, the Cast. Me, EJ, entitled Jerk, and IS, Important Son. I work at a popular high-priced restaurant, and we get new employees often, but the owner, who is also the general manager, hired some new faces, and he put me in charge of them. I'm not a manager, and the actual managers that were working with me made it clear that they were putting the responsibility of EJ onto me. Immediately, I didn't like this EJ. He was unprofessional and rude, but when he found out he was older than me, all respect went out the window. I'm a rather short, chunky girl, and he belittled me on my weight as well as my age. EJ was also racist and homophobic to me as well, and let other staff and guests know his opinions very aggressively. On to why he was fired. The owner of the restaurant next door is friends with the owner of the restaurant I work at. They're business partners and have corporate ties with each other. This is where IS comes in. IS is the son of the owner next door. IS, his father, and my general manager are on a poster in the back room. The family has owned restaurants for years. I don't know their race, but I know they're from overseas. I don't know where exactly, but I'm assuming Israel. Anyway, they have a thick accent, and sometimes it's hard to understand them the first try. IS walked in, and I had a difficult time understanding his accent, and after a few minutes of trying to understand each other, we got his order in. EJ got annoyed listening to my conversation and started making comments like, learn English, and mumbling while making ugh sounds. IS heard this and layered on his accent, making it even harder and playing it up while asking EJ questions about our food. EJ was noticeably pissed off and started yelling racist and anti-immigrant things at IS. He ended his rant with, if I was the owner, I'd ban all towel heads like you. IS perked up and in almost perfect English with little detectable accent said, I am the owner. EJ went off again, claiming how he was lying until he realized IS was one of the co-owners. You would expect an apology, right? One last-ditch effort to save your job? Not from EJ. He then claimed that it wasn't fair for IS to be a co-owner because it was taking away a job from Americans. IS smiled very big and asked me to write a witness report while he called my general manager and his dad. The next day, EJ was gone, and I hopefully never have to deal with him again. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you.